Hi, and welcome to Mid-South Viewpoint. I'm Byron Tyler. Isn't it interesting how God works, and even in our wildest imagination, things that we would never think about? You might be living in Colorado one day, and you move to Memphis, but not necessarily willingly. Okay, well, our guest today has a story she shared with me last time. Carol Jackson, president of Families Matter, and she tells a story about how her brother-in-law had this conspiracy to get her husband to Memphis, and so she came kicking and screaming.
I did. I really did. I kicked and screamed all the way.
But God has a way of changing our comfort zone sometimes.
Yes, He does. He really does.
Welcome, first of all, Carol, to Mid-South Viewpoint.
Thank you. I'm so glad to be here.
Herman is back with us too. Herman, good to see you.
Good to see you, Byron.
And we're going to talk today about an event coming up for Families Matter. And we also want to welcome the pastor of Faith Temple Ministries Church, Pastor Andrew Jackson. Pastor Jackson, it is so good to welcome you. I know there's been a long history of ministry in our city through your ministry, over 50 years of preaching. Can we also, at the top of the program, dedicate this broadcast to your late wife?
Oh, my goodness.
Yes,
that would just bless us. Thank you so much.
Yes.
Wonderful.
I would love to do that today. We just would like to, for some 50 years you were married to Miss Lottie.
More than 50.
58.
58 years you were married to Miss Lottie.
58 years.
Tell me, when you first met her, where were you when you first met her?
I first met her in Pine Bluff, Arkansas at a convention. And then, of course, the next year, the convention was in Mobile, Alabama. And I went to Mobile, Alabama.
They say that where he leads, I'll go. Where you were following her.
2 years later, we got married.
Pastor, what are some of the elements that you remember in a relationship for a husband and wife some 50 over years ago that were important for you that we don't necessarily see so much important in today's society?
Well, I went into it as committed to, and I think that is the key word for long-time relationship is commitment. And I had a chance to learn what commitment was all about. Initially, it was an emotional thing, but as we continued our journey in marriage, I found out that the emotional aspect of it would not keep us together. So I had to realize that it was a commitment not only to her, but to God. And that commitment was tested.
Herman, I think you've been married for a number of years, too, to Miss Carol.
44 years.
44 years?
Yes.
And would you agree with your brother that some of that emotion kind of fades away?
Absolutely. When it goes from just love and in some cases infatuation, it goes to commitment. And at this point in our life, after 44 years, we are more in love than ever, because we there first of all because God ordained it, and we want to be committed to Him first, and then to each other. So we are there for life until death.
Carol, that's what Families Matter is all about, trying to bring into focus the value of marriage, what God has instituted in relationships, and how to have a healthy marriage.
That's exactly, Byron, what Families Matter is all about. We are trying to increase the number of healthy families in Memphis and Shelby County, and that can only be done through a relationship with Jesus Christ. It's so important that we understand who we are and whose we are, and then our purpose here. I picked up something in your waiting room. It's like, why are you here? There's a purpose for our lives, and within our relationships, so many times, that's how that purpose is realized.
Pastor, you have, as a minister of a church for some 50 years and pastoring, preaching, and meeting a lot of needs, I know, of those members of your congregation, and even outside the congregation, I'm sure, have to deal with a lot of family matters.
Right.
And so it's tough for families today.
It is. Again, it boils down to relationships. And I find that people don't quite understand many times how to develop and maintain relationships. And in marriage, it's about relationship, building and developing. And if the emotional aspect is all that's there, it will not continue to work. So we preach a lot about relationships with young people, learning how to develop and maintain relationships. And I found in my own walk with the Lord and, of course, with the church, it's about relationship. Pastor build relationships with members.
Let's go back a few years, maybe when you and Herman used to run around in the yard and play together. And were there other siblings too?
Yes, it's 8 of us.
Total 8.
And Herman is the baby.
Herman?
I got the baby.
You got the baby. Well, take us into the Jackson home and some of the things you remember from your mom and dad's relationship.
Yes, I do. My mother was the disciplinarian in the home. My daddy was a good guy, but he kind of left it to her. And I remember sometime when we would be kind of acting up a little bit, he would say, "Boy, you better cut that out because your mama going to kill you when she get home."
Was mom going to kill you?
Yeah. My mother was quite a lady. We had fun together, but we knew when she got serious, we had to just kind of cut it. But I owe a lot to her because in areas of life that I wanted to venture into that was not quite godly, she was determined that I was not going there. Of course, my daddy wasn't always saved. He got saved later on in life. So it really didn't matter with him, but he would always honor her and say, you have to ask your mama if you can do this, if you can do that. So I appreciate her because I learned a lot from her that helped me along the way.
My experience was a little bit different from his. I was, of course, the baby, last one to leave home, and if I hadn't gotten married, I'd probably still be there. I had a very good relationship with both mom and dad, but mother, we did a lot of things together. I was the last one, like I said, home and went to school, went to college, and we just did a lot of things together. And she was quite a disciplinary person, but I think if she hadn't done some of the things she did, I probably wouldn't be where I am. So you look back at it, you maybe think, well, a lot of the things they maybe didn't quite understand as far as it comes to discipline. But on the other hand, when you see the way people are today, maybe they should have had some of that also. Is
your responsibility at Families Matter as the program manager for fatherhood ministry, aspect of it? That's one of the things you're really connecting with to help men understand their role, young men to understand their role in the home.
Yes.
To be the leader.
Well, first of all, they need to be in the home. That's one of the biggest problems. They're not there. Especially in Memphis Metro. Probably 70 to 80% of fathers that are locked up, they didn't have a father in their lives, and so they kind of follow the same trend. But in Memphis itself, over 70% of the head of household among African American women, they're the head of household. And so if the man is not there, he sure can't do anything. But even sometimes when they're there, if they haven't gotten the right training, they don't know how to be a father because their father didn't teach them how to be a father.
Right. And Pastor Jackson, your original plan for Herman to come was to be an administrative pastor to help you with the ministries there at the church, I believe.
That's correct. And he's done and he's doing a tremendous job. Oh, I couldn't have made it without him.
You didn't know you were going to get a bang for your buck with Carol coming, did you?
Well, she's been a lot of help because she's on our counseling staff. She's done a lot with marriage. In fact, before they get to me for the final counseling, they have to go through her. And if she approves, then we continue. If she does not approve, have to go back to the drawing board.
Start over again. And that's so important, too. I think a lot of young couples are so caught up in the emotion again.
They are.
The event.
They
Is that
are.
right, Carol?
The event. For the ladies, is planning the event. For the guy, it's just kind of, let's get this over with. And no one's thinking, they're thinking about the event and not the marriage itself. And what we try to get them to understand is that the marriage is a journey, and the event is just a piece of that, a very small piece of that. We want them to understand that there's much more to it, and they need to start getting the tools in order to make it work.
Carol, if you were trying to explain Families Matter to someone who lives in the city, has never heard of the ministry, not familiar with the ministry, what would you say? What would be the first thing you would say about the work?
I would say that Families Matter is an organization that gives you tools to have great relationship in any venue that you're in. It gives you the ability, we help you with the ability of understanding first of all yourself, then trying to understand the ones that you are around.
And really, your group kind of comes alongside the church. You're
We do.
Not competing with the
We
church.
are not.
But you want to help support the church.
We do. In fact, one of our major initiatives is within churches, because we understand that for so many, especially with the number of churches that are in the Memphis area, so many of them are smaller churches, and they do not have marriage ministries. One of the things that when I first looked into Families Matter, they talked about reducing the divorce rate. That's not our issue today. Today, our issue is getting people to understand the need for them to get married and not cohabitate.
Yeah.
So it's coming along beside, when I walk into a church, have a conversation with a minister and ask that minister about the number of marriages that's maybe performed in the church within the last 6 months to 12 months, and they say to me, none. And yet there's a tremendous amount of children that have been born. Then it lets us know that there is a need there. And so we want to walk beside that minister in helping him realize his goal for the members within his church, so that not only is he feeding the soul, but also they're understanding just how life works.
Now, you have organized an event coming up, matter of fact, on April the 13th.
April the 13th, Saturday, April the 13th at 8 o'clock a.m.
A family fun walk.
It's a family fun walk, and we called it a walk rather than a race, because within marriage, that's what you do. It's a journey, and you cannot go through it quickly. You have to take it one day at a time.
Okay, now tell us about the day and what you've got planned.
Well, on that day, we have a lot of things planned. As I said, the registration will begin at 8 o'clock in the morning, and we will have some preliminaries there. Of course, we're hoping that the mayor will be there with us as our chairperson for the day. And we're just hoping that people will come out and join us. We have other resources from the community, some of our partnering collaborators. We're hoping they will be there with us. In fact, several of them have already signed up. And so we're just hoping and praying that people will come out and share that morning with us. The walk-run will start at 9 o'clock. And everything is in the Shelby Farms area. And you can either do the 5K, or I think there's another area around Walnut Grove that's like 1.7 miles, so you can do that. We actually ordered a bouncer for the young kids if parents want to bring their youngsters out. And so we're just planning a really fun day for anyone that will join us in the park.
It's going to be a great day. Springtime, makes being outside even that much more fun.
Oh, we're really excited about that.
And to help support a great work like Families Matter is so great, too. Pastor Jackson, I was talking to Carol, and she said that recently in conversation that you had, that you kind of came to a point where you realized that as a church, you needed to be maybe more supportive for Families Matter. Not that you weren't, but maybe having more opportunities to work with this ministry.
Oh, yes, very much so. We 100%, should I say 110%, in support of Families Matter. Because I'm a family man, and
Yes,
my church is a family church.
Mm-hmm.
sometimes churches grow and they say, well, we're not a family church. We're a mega church. Well, I think a mega church ought to be a family church. We've learned to divide our church into groups, cell groups. We have cell group leaders, and they're responsible for making that group work. And I believe in pie slices. You know, the pie is the sum total of the whole, and it takes the slices to go to make the whole. So, Families Matter is intricate part of Faith Temple Ministries Church.
You know, Herman, it is a struggle for even families that are together where the man is in the home,
Right.
and he's wanting to, trying to make ends meet with his
Yes.
job and, all the things that kind of attack the family today. You know, what are some ways you try to, to help encourage young men to be strong in their families?
Well, first of all, it's real tough when you don't have a relationship with Christ. So we try to talk to them by being responsible and as Christ wants you to be. If you're not married, because I work with men before the babies, in hospitals come and they're married in most cases. But if you're not married, then be there and be a responsible person for that mother of that child. But if you are married, you're supposed to love your wife as Christ loved the church. He gave his life for us. So if when you get to that point where you care as much for your wife as you care for yourself or more, you're going to be there. You're going to be responsible. But we are so selfish as men and as people that we want things the way we want it, when we want it. So we need to be responsible, love, and cherish the person that's in our lives. If you're not married to that person, seek to be married at some point in time. If you are, then you're supposed to love that person as you love your own body.
I met a man recently that was from Detroit, and he had served on the police department in Detroit for some 30 years. And there was a place in his life, he looked back and he said, I've got multiple children with about 4 or 5 different wives.
Yeah.
And he thought, he said God brought him to a place of really brokenness, and saying that he had just forsaken his responsibility.
Yes.
He said God made it so clear. And so he said, I called up those women.
Wow.
And I apologize. Now, some of them, weren't too friendly to me on the phone. But I said, look, I want to bring my kids together, and I want them to know they've got a dad that's here, and I want to do what I can to support them.
Yes.
And so he planned this breakfast to take him to Bob Evans.
Wow.
And he went and picked him up, and he was living with, his marriage now. Everything was, in the Lord, and it was a good home. And his daughter, they were driving, and the daughter said, Daddy, who are all these children? And he said, sweetie, I'm going to tell you.
Wow.
And he went there and shared the story with all the kids. And to date, he's helped 3 of them go through college.
Yeah.
Oof.
And he's been there for them.
Yes.
Isn't that amazing? God uses brokenness in order to do something even larger. One of the things that we talk about a lot, especially I do a class with Perea preschool moms. And we talk a lot about their role in their children's lives, because in so many cases, the dad, he might be in and about the home, but he's not the man of the home. Right. And so we talk a lot about forgiveness, because how else do you walk through some of this without forgiving? I mean, that's one of the stations of the cross is forgiveness. How do we walk through life with different things that's been done to us without having a knowledge of first of all, how we are forgiven, therefore we are to forgive. And that's what that father did. He went and asked those moms to forgive him, and then now help me with having a relationship with my children.
I think, Pastor Jackson, so many think, they've messed up in life. Maybe they have had children by multiple children, and thinking about, what can I do? Can God even love me or forgive me, And that really is a starting point for so many. Is that right?
That's correct. I do quite a number of sermons on forgiveness. Mm-hmm. And because I found out, as a pastor, you can know a lot of things. You don't always say everything, but you know your members, many of them. So we talk about forgiveness a lot, and over the last 5 years, we've had classes just with married couples.
Right.
And it's been amazing the result that we've gotten as a result of those classes. We try to make it convenient for them, so we pick out a space on Sunday morning during our Sunday school time. And families, you get to really learn them, know a lot more than you thought you knew about them. And one of the big problems is forgiveness. It's forgiveness.
Yes.
Things that happen in the past, some can't seem to get over it, keep popping up. Carol and Herman, they were instructors in that class, and it has made a great difference. So forgiveness is a must if we move forward in relationships.
So really, Carol, the cycle can be broken.
It can. I believe it with all my heart. I'm passionate about this. My pastor said, and I read somewhere, but I remember him saying it, you're really not passionate about something unless you're willing to die for it. Mm-hmm. That's strong. And I'm passionate about the fact that I know that if we look at the cross, we just celebrated Resurrection Sunday, that whole idea of the cross, Christ being on the cross, was about forgiveness. It was about him paving the way so that I have a right to the Father. That's what relationships are all about, is us, and the forgiveness part is me letting go of something that maybe has been a deep offense. It doesn't have to be just surface. It can go really deep. But understanding that I have the ability, I don't believe he would put it in Scripture if I did not have the ability to walk through it. Okay? So I believe that almost any situation, any marriage can be repaired, restored. But first we have to look at ourselves, and then we have to give it to God and let God work on our behalf with the other person. I really believe that. That's kind of my philosophy of life, is that first I look at me, because I am only responsible for me. And then I give my relationship with Herman and even my pastor, I give those relationships to God and let him do what he will do when I am searching him for me.
Herman, that's pretty good philosophy.
Yes, it is. On this forgiveness part, I believe that unforgiveness is one of the biggest problems in most relationships and marriages especially. Most people, if the reason why they end up in divorce in most cases because they can't forgive. But I put pretty much everything on the man myself. I know men don't always like to hear that, but most everything, we're responsible. You or myself, either one, any day we could actually destroy a marriage just quickly. The woman normally can't destroy it quite as fast. We can just act crazy, whatever we want to do, and we can destroy it. So most of everything is on us. We're really not just responsible for ourselves. He gave us responsibility as far as being responsible for how we treat our wife. So it's not about just us. Maybe the wife may be responsible just for herself. But when it comes to us, we have more responsibility, because if we don't treat our wife properly, he won't even hear our prayers.
Yes.
That's pretty important. So I tell men that we're responsible for everything, including the mate we picked to be in our life. If you pick the wrong one, it's your fault. Don't blame her. So we're responsible for everything.
So he can't blame me.
Well, Pastor, oftentimes we put the blame back on Eve when we go back to the very first home.
Right.
But I've heard it said that Adam was standing right there beside her. Is that right?
Yes.
That's correct. I'm not exactly sure whether he looked at Eve and then looked at God and said, which one do I now want to go with? He decided he would follow Eve, and he took a bite. So it is true. Herman, he beat up on us quite a bit. And he's right, because the responsibility of the family rests with the man.
Yeah.
And Byron, nothing changed until Adam ate the fruit. See, Eve ate it, nothing changed. So that means that he was more responsible, because when he ate it, that's when everything changed. That's when they realized they were naked, not when she ate it. So we're responsible for a lot more than the woman is.
Wow.
Well, I tell you what, this is a great conversation for a great work. Families matter, because they do. They matter to God, and they matter to us with Bott Radio Network. That's why we want to help encourage the work of Families Matter, and ask you, friend, to please come out and help support this fun walk run at Shelby Farms on Saturday, April 13th. Again, Carol, details.
Details. April 13th, 8 o'clock, Shelby Farms Park. Meet the staff of Families Matter. A lot of our advisory board members will be there. My pastor will be there. So for those of you who want to meet him, he will be there. We're just expecting a great time in the park on that day. We will have some students that will be doing face painting for some of the young ones. Oh yes. Thank you, honey. I forgot. We will have a silent auction out there. It's never been done before that I'm aware of it. But one of the young men that's on the committee for the walk wanted to do a silent auction, and he's gotten some items that will be on display so people can buy those if they choose. So we will have just a lot of things going on in the park that day. We're there from, like I said, registration will start at 8. The walk run will start at 9, and then we'll just be milling around, having a good time, getting to know each other. Right. Different ministries will be there. One by One ministry will be there. Youth Striving for Excellence will be there. We have Graduate Memphis that's coming in. There's some of the insurance companies will be there, because we want to make available to our participants some of the things that's going on in Memphis that impact families. So that we're looking at those type of entities to come and join us in that park that day. But none of that will be successful unless we get people in the park. So that's what we need, are people.
We need folks to come out with some good walking shoes.
Yes, yes.
And excitement to be out for the day. Also, we didn't mention, Carol, your affiliation with Christ Community Health Services.
Yes, we are affiliated with Christ Community Health Services Center. We're actually located there. Just recently, about a year ago, Families Matter did get its own 501c3. So we are an entity, but we are still housed in Christ Community Health Services Center.
Now, if those listening want more information about the ministry website, what should they do?
Well, they can always call my office, and the number there is 260-8520. That's 901-260-8520. They can visit us on the web, which is www.familiesmattermemphis.org. We are having a new website built, so the old one right now is in commission because we needed it in commission for the walk, and then after this, the new one will be launched. And again, they can call my assistant also. Her number is 901-260-8521.
And her name?
Her name is Kelly Pearson.
All right. God bless you. Jackson family, thank you for
Thank you, Byron.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for what each of you are doing for Christ's kingdom in our community,
Yes.
to
Thank
help
you.
families to be strong and
Yes.
to know God's way of living life as a family.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank
As
you.
family goes, so goes society.
Exactly.
Yes. Yes.
Bad families, bad society.
Yes.
Yeah. We just believe that it can be better. And we believe that people can be given tools to make their relationships better. And we just hope that people will come and support us in our efforts on April 13th.
Come on out, friends. You heard the challenge now. Families Matter, first annual fun walk run, Shelby Farm, Saturday, April the 13th. It's going to be a lot of fun. More information, go to the website, familiesmattermemphis.org. You can also call the ministry at 901-260-8520. That's all the time we have on this edition of Mid-South Viewpoint. I'm Byron Tyler. Thanks for stopping by. We'll talk to you next time. Bye-bye.